Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I've been very busy today putting together this show, and I hope everyone would get something out of it. Primarily, we're going to talk about Hurricane Francine. Right now, Francine is not a hurricane, it's a tropical storm. Tropical storm Francine has winds of 55 to 60 miles per hour. That does not qualify it to be a hurricane yet. Once the winds surpass 14 miles per hour more, which is going to be approximately 70 miles per hour, 65 to 70 miles per hour, would qualify it to be a Category 1 hurricane. This is a big storm. The eye of the storm is just barely visible right now. Like I said, it's a tropical storm. It's not a hurricane yet, but it's going to be. By tomorrow evening, it will be a hurricane. I promise you that. Now, folks, I want you to be very careful with this. I want you to be very careful with this storm. This is going to be a very dangerous storm. A very dangerous storm. You can see the major cities where this hurricane is going to hit first. Right now, it's hitting the northeastern shores of Mexico. Next, it will hit Brownsville, Texas. Now, by tonight, it will be hitting the outer bands of this hurricane will be hitting Brownsville, Texas. And I'm saying the outer bands. The storm is going to stay in the Gulf of Mexico until it hits Louisiana. However, the outer bands are also going to hit Houston and that area there. Then it's going to continue northeast over into northeastern Texas and then over into Louisiana. New Orleans should not be the primary stop for this hurricane. We don't believe New Orleans will be where the hurricane makes landfall. However, it's going to be a big deal. It's a great big deal. Now, folks, I'm very serious about what I'm saying tonight. There is a tropical weather outlet that was issued by the National Hurricane Center out of Miami, Florida. It was issued this morning, okay? For the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico. Active Systems, the National Hurricane Center is issuing advisories on Tropical Storm Francine located over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. The Central Tropical Atlantic, AL92, which is an elongated area of low pressure over the Central Tropical Atlantic, continues to produce disorganized storms and thunderstorms. This is going to result in environmental conditions and marginally conducive for developments during the next few days. Meaning over in the Atlantic Ocean, we should see another tropical depression and then possibly a tropical storm after that. The tropical depression could form while the system meanders over the central tropical Atlantic. By the mid part of this week, the system is forecasted to move west-northwestward at 10 miles per hour. The formation chances of a storm in the central mid-Atlantic in the tropical storm region during the next 48 hours is medium percentage rate. 60% chance of a tropical depression leading to a tropical storm by midweek. Formation chance through the next 7 days, medium. Again, 60% plus. Eastern and central tropical Atlantic. A trough of low pressure is located several hundred miles southwest of Cabo Verde Islands. It is expected to merge in a couple of days with a strong tropical wave that is concurrently over the coast of Western Africa. Environmental conditions appear very favorable for a gradual depression, which will likely form during the middle to latter part of this week. While that system moves west-northwestward at 10 to 15 miles per hour, it's going to continue out over the central mid-Atlantic. The formation chance with that storm, 40 hours low, 30 to 40% chance. Formation chance within the next 7 days, 70% chance. So we may see a hurricane develop out of the central mid-Atlantic Ocean, 70% chance by the middle to the end of this week. Public advisories on Tropical Storm Francine have been issued. Tropical Storm Francine could bring a 10-foot storm surge. A 10-foot storm surge, guys. That's a big deal. Let me show you the storm surge ratings for this. I think you'll see what I'm talking about. Along the coast over in Houston and Galveston, Texas area, a 1 to 3 foot storm surge. That means wind-blown storm surge waves from the Gulf of Mexico over landfall, over the land over in Texas. As we near the northeastern part of Texas, a 3 to 5 foot storm surge. That's going to engulf parking lots, that's going to engulf streets, that's going to engulf houses and businesses on the waterfront of Texas and Louisiana. Now, as this storm hits landfall in Louisiana, there is a very strong chance we can see a 5 to 10 foot storm surge as this hurricane goes over land in Louisiana. Now, the only way it will be a 10-foot storm surge in Louisiana when it goes landfall is if there is a high tide. A high tide. Then we can expect 10-foot storm surge to be rushing ashore in Louisiana. As that storm moves northward, over towards central Mississippi and over into Alabama, we can expect a 2 to 4 foot storm surge with the waves continuing to go over land. As it reaches over towards Mississippi, and I'm talking along the barrier islands of Mississippi and even barrier islands in Louisiana, those barrier islands will see a 4 to 7 foot storm surge. A 4 to 7 foot storm surge, guys. This is a big deal. Okay? We haven't seen this kind of storm surge in a very long time. Now, we haven't had a lot of hurricanes either. But I'm telling you guys, we need to be very prepared. And yes, we're going to talk about hurricane preparedness tonight. Okay? Up to a 10-foot storm surge if there's high tide at the time. The warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico are expected to help Tropical Storm Francine grow into a hurricane before it slams into the Gulf Coast. Okay? We need to be very wary of this. Okay? The warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico are expected to help Tropical Storm Francine grow into a hurricane before it slams into the Gulf Coast of Texas or Louisiana in the coming days. But while it's likely that the storm will undergo some rapid intensification, Don Patoga is asking, Ron, will this storm reach Utah? No, it won't. But this storm will reach up to the Great Lakes area. Let me show you another storm track here. And this is just the storm track that we see right now. The storm track can change day to day. If the storm track does change, we will show that storm track change tomorrow probably tomorrow morning. We may be coming on the air tomorrow morning to tell you what's going on. But as you can see, Monday, 8 p.m., this storm surges over the Gulf Coast waters of Mexico, Gulf of Mexico. Going into Tuesday a.m., 8 a.m., it's going to still be in the Gulf of Mexico. However, it will be moving north. As it goes to 8 p.m. tomorrow night, we will see that storm just off the coast of Texas and Louisiana. We fully expect the winds to be averaging 70 to 75 miles per hour when it reaches this stage tomorrow night, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Wednesday morning. By Wednesday morning at approximately 7 to 8 a.m., it will reach landfall either in southeastern Texas over into Louisiana. Then by Wednesday evening, this storm will detensify. It will detensify, meaning the wind power will go way down. By 8 p.m., it will be over Louisiana and Mississippi, going north into Missouri. As we reach Wednesday evening into Thursday morning, we're going to see this storm going over into northern Louisiana, Mississippi, and Missouri, and points north. Louisiana, southeastern Oklahoma may also see some of this storm. Now, it's going to be detensifying at this point in time. We expect winds to be about 35 to 45 miles per hour by the time it reaches up into Missouri and up into Oklahoma area to the southeastern part of Oklahoma. Then it will be going north from there, and you can see what happens. As the storm moves north, by Saturday, 8 a.m., it will reach up into Illinois and Indiana. These winds will go down. The winds will be going down, but probably 30 to 35 mile per hour gusts. This storm will reach up into the northern part of the country, in the central part of the country. Could reach up to the Great Lakes as well. As you can see, the National Weather Service has this reaching up almost to Chicago. It may go further north than that. With that said, everybody needs to prepare for what is going to happen during this week. But while it's likely the storm will undergo some level of rapid intensification while it's out over the warmer waters of the Gulf of Mexico, a process that can supercharge storms. Forecasters have said that other factors will likely limit how powerful Francine becomes before it hits landfall. Rapid intensification can occur when tropical storms pass over pockets of warm water, providing more energy that allows them to quickly become more powerful. With temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico increasing, and right now the temperatures of the water of the Gulf of Mexico are about 88 degrees. The intensification is increasingly becoming more common when we see these tropical storms start out in the southeastern part of the Gulf. But what has cemented hurricanes' rapid intensification place in the history books of hurricanes, its association with devastating storms that grew rapidly into major hurricanes. For example, Hurricane Laura in 2020 and Hurricane Ida in 2021. Both hurricanes we covered. Two of the strongest storms ever to hit the United States mainland. Each hurricane underwent rapid intensification before it slammed into the Louisiana coast. Water temperatures of nearly 88 degrees in the western Gulf of Mexico will provide similar fuel for Francine. Forecasters at the moment expect other factors will limit how strong the storm will get. A forecast issued earlier today said the National Hurricane Center in Miami warned that models are showing a heightened possibility of rapid intensification Tuesday into Wednesday. Then, after a period of intensification, high vertical wind shear could cause the storm's intensity to plateau before it makes landfall in Louisiana by Wednesday morning. That is according to the National Hurricane Center. Again, high vertical wind shear will densify the storm rapidly before it reaches landfall. Now, what I'm talking about, by tomorrow morning, we expect Francine to become a hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane. Between tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning, when it's expected to make landfall, it could reach up to Category 3, but they don't believe it will be a Category 3 when it reaches landfall, because the high vertical shear winds will knock it back down to a Category 1 storm. In addition to the shear, the storm is expected to pull in dry air from Texas, which could serve to check another intensification process, meaning the winds will die down. The current forecast is that the Hurricane Francine will hit Louisiana as a Cat 1 storm. Together, these two factors, the wind shear and the dry air from over in Texas, may prevent Francine from becoming a monster storm. Now, I wouldn't say it's not on the table. I'm not going to say it's off the table, but it seems fairly unlikely that Francine will become a monster. The storm will still bring dangerous conditions that residents need to prepare for. That's why I'm spending a great deal of time tonight talking to you about it. We need to prepare. We need to prepare. Now, we talked about the last hurricane. It was nothing more than a Cat 1 storm, and it quickly de-intensified, and it went back to almost nothing after that. Now, that's not likely to happen this time, but we hope it will not become a monster storm. With that said, neither wind shear or dry air alone or combined are going to be enough to fully take the punch out of this storm. Tropical Storm Francine forces evacuations along the Gulf Coast. The first evacuations have been ordered along the Gulf Coast as Tropical Storm Francine gains strength ahead of expected hurricane strike by midweek. The storm was churning in the record warm waters of the western Gulf of Mexico after forming late Monday morning, today. It formed early this morning a few hundred miles away from the Mexico-Texas border. Its wind speeds jumped from 50 to 60 miles per hour by this afternoon. 14 miles per hour shy of becoming a hurricane. 14 miles per hour shy of becoming a hurricane. Now, flooding rainfall, strong winds, and dangerous storm surge are likely this week along the western Gulf Coast as Francine continues to strengthen. The people that are living in northeastern Texas and over into Mexico as well. I shouldn't say northeastern Texas, southeastern Texas. You guys need to be aware of what's happening. You guys are going to see storm surge along the coast. You're going to see higher winds. You're going to see rainfall. And the outer bands of this storm may be hitting the coastline now. The outer bands of this storm may be hitting the coastline right now. Let's go back and check the weather radar here. You can see the outer bands hitting northeastern Mexico and southeastern Texas. This is going to intensify. Houston, Galveston, and that whole area are going to be hit with these high winds and rain. You're going to get a lot of rainfall. You folks could get a year's worth of rainfall within 24 hours. Some of you folks will see record rainfall. Okay? Tropical storm and hurricane watches have been issued for the region. Now, while that storm is zeroing in on a possible landfall in Louisiana, it's still too early to pinpoint exactly where it could cross into the state and how strong it will be at the time it hits landfall. And we're talking about the eye of the storm hitting landfall. As you can see, the outer bands of this storm are already looking into northeastern Louisiana, I shouldn't say Louisiana, northeastern Mexico into Texas. The storm could strengthen very quickly out over the very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, as I've said. That very warm water essentially acts as jet fuel for the tropical storms. Francine again could also end up stronger than currently forecast. It could be a lot more stronger than what they're forecasting. Even Louisiana officials are already bracing for impact from the storm's dangerous flooding and storm surge. Again, we're talking storm surge. The storm's dangerous flooding and storm surge. Various parts of Texas could see 2 to 4 feet of water coming off the Gulf of Mexico. As this storm reaches over towards southeastern Texas and over into Louisiana, all of a sudden the storm surge could reach up to 4 to 5 feet tall. 4 to 5 feet of water could reach into southeastern Texas and Louisiana. Mandatory evacuations have been ordered for parts of Louisiana's Cameron Parish. Cameron Parish. Let me show you that area right now. Folks, this is Cameron Parish, right along the Gulf of Mexico and Louisiana. You can see Lake Charles to the north. This area and the dotted lines are Cameron Parish. They've already issued evacuation orders for that area. And that's not the only place they've issued evacuation orders. Cameron Parish has a population of 5,619 people. The Cameron Parish Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness has issued mandatory evacuation order for the southern portion of the parish due to the tropical storm Francine. As of 2 p.m. today, the evacuation order also includes areas of Kelso Bayou, the Kelso Barrow Bridge on the west side of Casel Ship Channel, and all areas south of the Intercoastal Waterway east of the Calceo Ship Channel. The following communities are under the evacuation order: Hackberry City, Johnson Bayou, Holly Beach, Cameron City, Creole, Grand Chenier, and Big Lake. Cameron Parish also is advising residents who live in these areas that are prone to flooding to take precautions and finalize evacuation preparedness plans right now. Finalize your evacuation preparedness plans right now. As we stated early on during our programs in the past, we talked to everyone about emergency preparedness planning. Emergency preparedness planning. Proper planning prevents poor performance. We've asked everyone to have a preparedness plan. If you don't have a preparedness plan right now, you can go over into YouTube, and every program that we put on has something about preparedness. But when we have talked precisely about preparedness planning, that preparedness planning is in the topic of the program. You need to go to that program and watch it. Watch that program. Primarily, those programs may be on a Friday evening. So it will say Friday, whatever date on it. Preparedness planning. Preparedness planning. Campers and travel trailers should be removed from the areas of evacuation as soon as possible, as well as low-lying areas that historically flood. There will be no roadblocks. There will be no roadblocks or closures during the evacuation process. Both mandatory and voluntary evacuations have been ordered farther east into Jefferson Parish. Jefferson Parish. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is Grand Isle. Grand Isle. Grand Isle is in Jefferson Parish. Grand Isle has a population of 952 people. There are both mandatory and voluntary evacuations that have been ordered here. Grand Isle is a town in Louisiana on a narrow barrier island in the Gulf of Mexico. It's known for its beaches, including those at Grand Isle State Park, which also has trails, campsites, and a fishing pier. The Grand Isle Binding Trail meanders through oak forests. The Butterfly Dome is home to native butterflies and plants. At Wakeside Cable Park, cables tow water sports enthusiasts along jumps and obstacles. In Mississippi, voluntary evacuations also began in the city of Pass Christian. Let me bring up Pass Christian here. Pass Christian, Mississippi. Parts of Mississippi are also ordering evacuations. Some parishes in Louisiana include St. Mary Parish, which has a population of 49,406, and Terrebonne Parish of 109,580. That is a lot of people. Let's show you a picture of St. Mary Parish here. First up, I want to show you where St. Mary Parish is in Louisiana. It is a very small community. It's a very small community, but it has a large population. Okay, 49,406 people. Terrebonne Parish has a population of 109,580. Both of those towns have already started to close off floodgates, and they've been distributing sandbags since early this morning. Terrebonne Parish has declared a state of emergency, according to a news release that we got from early this morning. Terrebonne Parish has declared a state of emergency. Okay? That's a big deal. This is a picture of St. Mary's Parish there in Louisiana. I'm sorry. Let me reduce the size of that picture so you can see it. It wasn't supposed to do that, guys. I'm sorry. This is a picture of St. Mary's Parish, guys. It's a beautiful town there. It's a beautiful town. And you can see the church in the background. This whole area is supposed to be getting high water. Very high water. Now, again, Francine could become a hurricane by tomorrow night, a few hundred miles east of the Texas coast, and is expected to strengthen up until landfall Wednesday evening. Tropical storm force winds could reach parts of far northeastern Mexico and far southern Texas by tomorrow. Ahead of that, storm surge and rough surf could cause minor coastal flooding on the Mexico coast early this week. The storm's worst rain and wind will likely begin by Wednesday morning. But storm surge concerns will still ramp up for the United States as the system strengthens and as it nears landfall. A storm surge watch was issued early this morning for coastal areas of far eastern Texas through Louisiana and Mississippi. Parts of the central Louisiana coast could endure the worst storm surge, with levels potentially reaching up to 10 feet above normal if there is a high tide. Heavy rain could also be a very serious threat, particularly in coastal areas northwest of Mexico today. The system's heavy rain could also begin in far southern Texas tonight as the storm reaches more of the western Gulf Coast by tomorrow morning. Tropical downpours from the system will bring 4 to 8 inches of rain for far northeast Mexico to parts of the Texas coast and southern Louisiana this week. Totals could come close to a foot for areas struck under persistent downpours. A more widespread idea of 2 to 4 inches of rain are likely across the entire region. 2 to 4 inches of rain likely across the entire region, but those numbers could go up. Texas will get most of its heavy rain earlier this week, but some of the most torrential conditions could hold off until late tomorrow night for Louisiana. Tropical rain could lead to a considerable risk of flash flooding. I'm going to repeat that. Tropical rainfall could lead to a considerable risk of flash flooding. Every time we've seen a storm system come in either off the Gulf of Mexico or the south part of the Atlantic Ocean around Florida, there's always been storm surge and there's also been heavy rain. A level 3 of 4 risk of flooding rainfall. It's in place for Wednesday for much of Louisiana and parts of southern Mississippi. Heavy rainfall. The system in the Gulf isn't the only area of stormy weather that could cause tropical trouble. 2 other areas in the open Atlantic have a medium chance of developing in the next 7 days. Any possible tropical system from either is still days away from developing. So right now it's too early to speculate about those 2 storms off in the southern Atlantic Ocean. I shouldn't say southern, but north mid-Atlantic Ocean. Now, I want to talk about staying safe. Staying safe after the storm. I want to particularly warn everybody. If you're asked to evacuate, don't wait. If you're asked to evacuate, don't wait. Do it then. Do it then. Get out of Dodge before the situation gets worse. Get out of Dodge before the situation gets worse. As the storm intensifies, more and more people will be evacuated, and the roads will be clogged. The roads will be clogged. And there's going to be those people that did not gas up their gas tanks, and they will be stuck out in traffic jams. And they will be the cause of accidents and slower traffic or dead stop traffic. Folks, right now is the time to prepare. Right now is the time to prepare, and prepare now. Make sure your vehicles are full of fuel. Make sure your vehicles are full of fuel. Like I said, the hurricane watches have gone up. Brownsville, Texas, over in southwestern Texas. Corpus Christi, Texas. You folks may already be seeing these outer bands of the hurricane as they come into land. Houston, you may also be seeing these tropical bands of rainfall coming in off the storm. New Orleans, I don't believe you're going to see bands of rain until probably tomorrow. But you will see the rain coming in. If you have friends that are in these areas where this storm is going to hit, please call them now. Because in a few minutes we're going to be specifically talking about hurricane preparations. I want to make sure we get this information out. I want to make sure we're getting this information out. So please, if you have friends and relatives in this storm's region, they need to be watching this program. Also, while I'm talking about it, please give us a thumbs up. Please give us a thumbs up, letting YouTube know that this is an important program. Also, don't leave this program. Stay with this program. Stay with this program. There is no bad thing about leaving when there's nothing to talk about. When there is something very important to talk about as a hurricane coming into land, now is the time to stay and watch this program. Now is the time to stay here and watch this program through the preparations that we've got here. We're giving you emergency information. We're giving you emergency information that you need to have. Now, Diane Kelman says there was a lot of wind and rain over in Rochester, New York today. I understand from talking with my kids over in Utah that you guys got plenty of rain over in Salt Lake City area. That rain is moving eastward. That rain is moving eastward over the Rocky Mountains. By tomorrow, late tomorrow night into Wednesday, you guys over in Denver area, Montana and Wyoming are also going to feel that weather coming your way. Be aware of it. Be aware of it. But these areas, excuse me, I didn't show this picture. I don't know why I didn't show here. I do now. Right here. This is this picture I wanted to show you of Brownsville, Texas, and Corpus Christi hitting right now. These outer bands of the hurricane are coming up outer bands of Tropical Storm Francine that's going to turn into a hurricane by tomorrow. The outer bands are already hitting over here in Brownsville and Corpus Christi. By midday tomorrow at the very latest, Houston will also be seeing these outer bands this storm. You're also going to be seeing storm surge. New Orleans, you absolutely will be seeing storm surge and high winds by midday to late tomorrow evening. You need to be aware of this. We need to be aware of this. Canadian Patriot 1, thank you for sharing it. I would ask everybody to share this. Also give us a thumbs up here. Right now we're showing 41 thumbs up. I'm hoping to have even more than that right now. Right now. If you guys enjoy what we're seeing, what we're showing you, please give us a thumbs up. Please do. We need your support. Right now, 45 people giving us thumbs up. This is important. Skip Kelly says drought conditions in northeastern Canada. You just wait. You just wait. I have a feeling the drought will end in northeastern Canada within the next few weeks. Because there's some storms coming up. There are some storms in the Atlantic Ocean that will be headed your way. Anyway, let's go here right now and talk about what we're talking about. I specifically want to talk about preparedness checklists. The ultimate hurricane checklist. This means all of you. All of you. We can have hurricane checklists, we can have earthquake checklists, whatever incident's going to happen. You need to have a checklist. You need to be ready for what is going to happen. Because it's going to happen. And there's nothing that can be done to prevent it. There's absolutely nothing that can be done to prevent it. Again, this is the storm surge ratings for this storm. Storm surge, flooding, wind-driven flooding off the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I want you to be prepared. Whatever it's going to take, I want you to be prepared. For those of you that are new to the business of prepping, or what I like to call preparation, emergency preparedness, you can feel no small amount of intimidation from just how much info that you possibly have, or that you could possibly get. But you need to learn just to have a clue. You need to learn just to have a clue about preparations. From food storage to fire starting, land navigation to lethal force. The sheer breadth and depth of the subject is actually bewildering. I started putting together these presentations about 30 years ago. And very little has changed. And if stuff changed, I put it in the preparation report that I give you. The depth of the subject is bewildering. That's what I personally call it. Especially if you aren't coming from a lifetime that imparted some of the hard skills and knowledge that some of us have had. We don't want you to feel overwhelmed. We don't want you to give up on the prospect of taking responsibility for all facets of your own life. Your own life and your survival. Not that long ago, it wasn't called prepping. It was just called life. Then we called it preparedness. Life like your great-granddad used to have, and great-grandma used to live. But to help you get a jump start of focusing your efforts and energies, we put together a preparedness checklist for most of the essential items for beginners. For most of the essential basic items for beginners. This list contains the most used and most important basic survival items that you should have no matter where you live or what kind of disaster that you might be facing. But there's no need to fear. There is no need to fear. Everyone started somewhere. We at Emergency Management Associates will be here with you, helping you every step of the way. That's what family's about. Helping each other. Now, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about tonight. Shelter. Having some kind of roof over your head. Water. You can't live for more than 3 days without water. I'm going to be talking about food and cooking. I'm going to be talking about light. Having light when you need it. I'm going to talk about clothing. I'm going to talk about communications. I'm going to talk about knives. I'm going to talk about weapons. I'm going to talk about medical. Yes, medical. Lastly, I'm going to talk about bug-out bags, or what they call a BOB, a bug-out bag. Non-items on the checklist. The contents of this list by design are very basic. As mentioned a minute ago, no matter where you live and what threat you might have to face, the following items will be very useful, even mandatory. But the list we're going to give you cannot cover every contingency or even every nuance that might reflect a prepper's unique situation where they live. Depending on your specifics, some figures and recommendations may change, and recommendations will change. Someone living in an arid desert, for instance, would probably place even greater importance on water supplies and water filtration than usual. Also keep in mind one of the most basic preparedness tenets, starting now. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever. Even sitting on the shelf in your cool, dry house, things wear out or they rot away. Nothing lasts forever. No matter the consumable, no matter how well you preserve it, it will eventually go bad. It will eventually go bad. Or it's going to spoil on you. We've talked in the past about rotating your stocks. Rotating your stocks. That means using up the items for daily use before they go bad, using first in, first out approach. First in. The product that you have on the shelf right now, in front of you, that product is first in. First in, first out. Okay? First in, first out before they go bad. Okay? That means replenishing it will prevent your money and time from going to waste. Replenishing it. Putting the new items in back of the older ones. For example, if you have medicine stashed for disaster readiness and it expires or loses its effectiveness in 6 months, you would pull that stale bottle of meds and use them around the home. Next time you go to the store, you would purchase a replacement bottle and add that to your survival stash behind what you presently have. It's easy. And with that said, let's go to the packing list that you're going to need to have. As I stated, the first one is shelter. Shelter is probably the most important survival consideration right after oxygen. Shelter is the most important, the most vital survival consideration right after oxygen. Exposure can kill you in hours if you're in bad weather. The best thing you can do for yourself is to make sure that you have some essential shelter gear. The most important thing you can do is have essential shelter gear and supplies on hand, even if you plan on writing out your emergency situation. Sheltering in place even better. Now, for example, if you have a Sawyer water filter, water filter, that's a very expensive piece of equipment. You might have to save your money for that. But you can get inexpensive water filters all around the internet and all around your area. Power outages. Power outages and damage can let the outside in. And the ability to create a smaller, more survivable microclimate inside your home is invaluable. You should get a good tent. Get a good tent. My wife and I have a 5-man tent. After you have your gear in the tent, you might only get 4 people in that tent. Plan accordingly. If you have a family of 5 or 6 or 7 people, make sure you have 2 tents. 2 tents. Okay? Have a good tent appropriate for the size of your family or household. A heavy-duty tarp. My wife and I have several heavy-duty tarps. I think we have at least 4 or 5 heavy-duty tarps. You can make a tent from a heavy-duty tarp, or use it as ground cover, or use it as a preparation against the wind to shield you from the wind or storms. Sunshade. Using that heavy-duty tarp as a sunshade, or even greater, over the top of you to prevent you from getting wet in the rain. Tarps are good for almost anything. Consider getting several heavy-duty tarps. Besides that, you may want to have a poncho or rain slicker. We have both of those. My wife and I have several ponchos, but we also have several rain slickers. I first got my first rain slicker when I was a police officer to keep me dry. Getting wet makes you lose heat. Getting wet means you're going to lose body heat even faster. Getting wet when it is cold is often a death sentence. Getting wet when it's cold is often a death sentence. Consider this. Stay dry with a waterproof outer layer. Stay dry with waterproof outer layer. Next, emergency blankets. Remember those crinkly foil type blankets that they first said were developed by NASA to keep astronauts warm in space? These crinkly foil blankets seem like a joke, and it will make you look like a baked potato. But those crinkly foil blankets work wonders, making you feel warm, making you feel cozy, and they take up almost no room or weight inside your emergency preparedness kit or your 72-hour backpack or whatever you have. They take up almost no space at all, and they don't weigh much of anything. Next, you're going to want to have a sleeping bag. You're going to need to have a good night's sleep, especially in a stressful situation. And a sleeping bag is the most weight and size efficient method of achieving this. Whatever you pack, you will need to cope with most of the severe weather you can expect in your area. If you live in California, You can probably get away with a lighter sleeping bag than someone who lives, for example, in Alaska, or someone who lives in Utah, Idaho, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and points north. But don't get caught out without having a summer weight sleeping bag at least, and having to use your preparedness kit in winter. Let me repeat that. Don't get caught outside without having at least a summer weight sleeping bag or some sleeping bag that may protect you from the cold, and then having to use your emergency preparedness kit in the winter. Number 2 is water. Water. Water is next in importance right after shelter. Dehydration and death by thirst will kill you in 3 days. You'll be delirious and incapacitated long before that when you cannot get water. It is vital that you have a ready drinking water supply, potable drinking water, and the tools to produce clean, drinkable water from other sources, man-made or otherwise. Now, I've got some suggestions for you. 1 gallon of drinking water per person per day. 1 gallon of drinking water per person per day if you plan to survive at all. I usually tell people that are going camping or that are going to face very hard conditions to have at least 3 gallons of water per person per day if you plan to survive. This amount of water covers drinking, basic sanitation, along with some food prep. Food prep. You need to have water for food preparation, also for cleaning up after you eat your food. Hotter, drier weather means you're going to need more of this. You need to have some kind of water container. Ideally, you're going to want to have a 55-gallon plastic BPA-free water barrel. A 55-gallon BPA-free water barrel. But a 5-gallon container with a sealable lid will work. We have 5-gallon water barrels here. We also have a 55-gallon BPA-free water barrel. Now, think about a bathtub basin. There's a bob that you can buy. There is a bob that you can buy to fit in your bathtub. A large bag designed to sit in your bathtub so you can fill it up with water at the outset of a disaster before water is cut off. This bathtub water bag will give you a massive backup supply of water. Water purification tablets or unscented regular formula bleach. Unscented regular formula bleach for cleansing suspect water of biological contaminants. A water filtration device. My wife and I have water filtration devices. I've shown you this one here before. I've shown you this one here. This is a great water purification here. Now I purposely let the water go down in this barrel here. At the bottom of this container here, you see a filter right here. This is what filters the water that you're going to pull up from the straw, which is right here. You may need this. My wife and I have 3 of these containers. 3 of these containers that we can pull water out of anything and filter it for drinking. Think about getting one. think about getting one. Life straws or even better. Life straws are even better than the Sawyer Mini. The Sawyer Mini. The Sawyer is going to cost you more money. But if you have the ability to get it, you'll be blessed for having it. Water collection containers with a filter. Water collection containers with a filter. You can buy these water bags at the store. 2 to 3 gallon water bags at the store. You're able to pull water from a spout at the bottom of it. You can collect your water in these water bags. I've done it. I've used it. Now, let's talk about 3. Food and cooking. Food and cooking. During a disaster survival scenario, you're going to need calories in your food. Calories that you're going to need for fuel to keep you able to work and getting work done. That and food, especially hot, good food, is a huge morale booster during a rough time. Just starting out in preparedness, you can easily and painlessly start building your emergency food supply by adding an item or 2 each time you make a trip to the grocery store. Every time you make a trip to the grocery store, add 1 or 2 items to your list. Add 1 or 2 items to the list that you're going to purchase and take those home and put them in back stock. Put them in back of the product you already have on the shelf. Something as small as 3 square meals for each person for 3 days will cover you for 90% of the things that might happen to you. And that includes hurricanes. You might not be able to leave your home for 3 days. You're going to want 2,000 to 2,500 calories per person per day for a high activity fueling of your bodies. But you can ration that to stretch an existing supply and go for much less. Grab your grocery list and add the following items. Grab your grocery list and add the following items. Non-perishable caloric dense foodstuffs. Non-perishable calorie dense foodstuffs. Staples like flour, honey, pasta, rice and beans. Canned and vacuum sealed foods like meat, soup, veggies, and so on. Survival foods. Stockpiled survival food. My wife and I both, even before we got married, had pulled up survival food. And I have most of that. Survival foods. Stockpile survival food. 4 Patriots food, for example. 4 Patriots food. Okay? How many times have I talked about 4 Patriots food? This is a 72-hour survival kit. A 72-hour survival kit. Simply put, you can order these online, or you can order them over the phone. The phone number to order 4 Patriots food supply like this is 1-800-607-0943. 1-800-607-0943. Or visit getmorefood.com. Getmorefood.com or 4 Patriots Food. My wife keeps wondering why I have that 72-hour kit right next to my desk. I have that right next to the desk so I can show it to you. Richard Smith said he had an idea of canning clams, but the beach is full of blue-green algae, which would make you sick. Please don't do that. Canadian Patriot 1 says, plan on taking your Bible with you. Absolutely. Plan on taking your scriptures with you. Plan on taking your scriptures with you. How many times have I said that now? It's important. MREs. When we talk about survival foods, MREs are good. They're a long-lasting option, but they're more expensive and they can cause serious constipation. There are a lot of military members that say never get those. I've run into more military people that have said stay away from MREs. Yet you can buy those almost every warehouse store that you can think of. From REI, Walmart. You can get those almost everywhere. Okay? Now, also in your survival food kit, don't forget your can opener. Don't forget your can opener. My wife in our pantry, she and I have canned food. Actually, a lot of canned food. Don't forget your can opener. I've got a can opener. I've got a can opener on this knife here. This multi-kit right here. You can't go very far without one of these. With this, I can open cans as well. Okay? Also, drink mixes. Drink mixes or an electrolyte replacement. Drink mixes and electrolyte replacement powders for fast energy and for variety. Basic dining utensils and disposable plates. Napkins. You may also consider getting a portable camp stove. Portable camp stoves run from about $20 on up to $50. A 2-burner camp stove can run you anywhere from $20 to $50 depending on where you get it. This also depends a bit on your approach to survival and your location. The next thing I want to talk about is fuel. Fuel. If you live in an area where wood is plentiful, I would question whether you need a stove. However, if you live in a desert or plains area where wood fuel might be scarce, go for a multi-fuel stove. A multi-fuel stove. So you can be as flexible as possible when it comes to finding more fuel once you run out. There are many options that will work with gasoline, diesel, and even aviation fuel and more. Think about that. Think about that. Now, let's talk about light. In past episodes of this program, when we've talked about preparedness, we've talked about lights, tactical flashlights. Tactical flashlights. This is my handy dandy, what I call a Kell light. A Kell light. It's a 3 C-cell flashlight, and it's a very bright flashlight. There's a button right here to activate the light. You can also press it the second time, and it's not just a light, but it's a strobe light. That sometimes will work for various things. Again, this is a tactical light. Tactical lights. Now, 3 different tactical lights. This is the smallest of my flashlights. These are a 2 AA battery flashlight. A 2 AA battery flashlight. This also, if you press it a second time, it's a strobe as well. It's a very bright light, so I'm not going to show you on the camera because I'm afraid you will burn out the Vidicon lens in the camera. This is a very strong flashlight. It's also, if you pull it out like this, you have a wider beam. A wider beam. If you press it in like this, it's not as wide a beam. It's a more narrow beam. It's a great tactical light. Then I have a light that I got from 4 Patriots. It's a Halo XT flashlight. A Halo XT flashlight. It's a very bright flashlight here. Again, you can have a bright flashlight. You can have a low light flashlight. You can have a strobe here. You also have 2 different kinds of situation here. This will also charge your light here. This is a solar panel to charge this flashlight. You can also use this as a work light. Once you press a button a 3rd time, it lights this work light. It's a great thing. But not just that. There's more. At the bottom of the flashlight right here, we have a compass. This is a compass. On the end of the flashlight, guess what? Right here. What do we have here? A way to recharge the flashlight. A way to recharge the flashlight. And look what else it has here. A way to recharge your cell phone. A way to recharge your cell phone. But this flashlight that we have here, the Halo XT flashlight from 4 Patriots, also has 2 other things. Number 1, this button right here you can hang on a piece of metal, whether it's your refrigerator or whatever, or a piece of metal in your car or truck. It's a magnet, so you can hang this flashlight anywhere where you have a piece of metal, so it is readily accessible to whatever you have. And not just that, right here, see this point here? This is a glass break. This is a glass break. So if you get trapped underwater, you can tap your window like this, your side window just like this, and it will shatter the window, allowing you to swim free from the car that you're in, the car or the truck that you're in. Like I said, this is a wonderful flashlight. I've had it for several years now. I love it. The Halo XT flashlight from 4 Patriots. Canadian Patriot One says you can also get crank lights. I have a crank light over in my windowsill here. I also have a AM/FM weather radio. It's also got a crank on the side, so I can crank it and provide power for my weather radio or my AM/FM radio, whatever I want to listen to. Okay? It's a great radio here. And also on the side of the radio, it also has an emergency light. Okay? But you can buy crank flashlights all over the place. I have 2 or 3 of those. Okay? Tactical flashlights. You must assume that the power will go out, and it may not be coming back on for a duration of the crisis, including a hurricane. Your go-to buddy for dealing with that is the Humble flashlight. Also, something that you might want to consider is a headlamp. We have several headlamps here as well. That keeps your hands free. That totally keeps your hands free. Something else that I like about my police flashlight, my Kel light, I put it under my armpit just like this. That way I can still use my hands and I can still have this light visible. Okay? It's a great flashlight, a great way to use a flashlight. Consider headlamps, because they allow you to work your hands free with no hassle, without holding a light between your teeth or up in your hands. Lights of all kinds are good for signaling as well. Add these luminous wonders to your cache as soon as you can. Flashlights. Get the best ones that you can afford for reliability. LED lights are brighter and more durable and use less power. LED lights are more durable and use less power, such as this light here. This is an LED light. Okay? Headlamps. Look for models that focus on close range. Look for models for headlamps that are more close range, using usable light and longer run times. Usable light with longer run times compared to your other flashlights. Having them take the same batteries as a big one. Having your LED flashlights take the same batteries as your big one. And yes, this is a C-cell flashlight, a 3-cell C-cell. I always have backup batteries for this. I have backup batteries for my small flashlight here, and this Halo XT you can hook up and charge it from the end of the flashlight here to your household, or you can put it in the sun and recharge it in the sun. Okay? You might also consider a lantern. My wife and I have 3 different kinds of lanterns. 2 of them run by batteries and solar power. Batteries and solar power. Some lanterns run with alcohol or other gas-powered lanterns work fine. But those kinds of lanterns are more dangerous than a good battery lantern. Use those lanterns for area lighting at home or in the dark or at a camp to save power with your battery-gobbling flashlights. Now, along with those flashlights and other things, have lots and lots of batteries to fall back on. Have lots and lots of batteries for backup power. Some families, the children, consider chem lights because their children love these chem lights, aka snap lights. These snap lights are rave friendly. Kids use them all the time. I went to a family reunion many years ago, and my cousin's kids ran along the fence line of this park where there's a highway, and they ran along the fence line with these snap chem lights on their legs and their arms, and they thought they were being funny out there, making different shapes for people driving by, and people honked at them. Those chem lights are soft and reusable areas for illumination, with zero risk of a fire or anything bad happening. Number 5, clothing. Clothing. Don Patoga says 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is better. I agree. Okay? Clothing. You're going to need the right kind of clothes for the aftermath of a disaster. I don't care whether it's fires, hurricanes, floods, or whatever. You're going to need the right kind of clothing in the aftermath of a disaster. Clothing for protection from the elements and also the environment. Make sure you have good clothing ready to go, appropriate for all seasons in your home area. Most of you know what I'm talking about. Good clothing appropriate for all seasons in the area where you live. Consider that. Demon Catman, thanks for putting up our postal address here. 104 North Green Street, Box 105, Morganton, North Carolina, 28655. I appreciate that ever so much. Thanks, Dean. God bless you for that. Also, if you mods would also put up our PayPal, I'd appreciate that. Please put up our PayPal so people can also send us donations to our PayPal. We need that. We need that. When you send me a card or a letter, you can also stick a donation in the middle of the card or the letter. That way your donation is kept safe and nobody can see through that card or letter. A lot of you do that. I love hearing from you. I love hearing how you're doing. I love hearing what you're doing in terms of preparedness, in terms of spirituality in your study of the scriptures. I love hearing about that. That makes me and my wife very happy when we hear from you talking about how you're doing. Okay? So thank you for that. Now, make sure you have good clothing ready to go for all seasons where you live. Tough, fast-drying clothes and sturdy boots and gloves. Tough, fast-drying clothes and sturdy boots and gloves give you an advantage over the sharp things and painful things that you might have to deal with in the wake of a disaster. Winter caps. We are going to be going into the winter season very soon. Winter caps. Be sure to stock your stash wardrobe with sturdy boots and trail shoes. Sturdy boots or trail shoes, suitable for long distance movement by foot. Warm weather clothing, cold weather clothing. Socks and underwear, lots of each. Take care of your feet. Take care of your feet. Demon Catman, just below this video, Demon Catman, all of you, just below this video here in the top of our program description, you can see our PayPal and Venmo links. You can see the PayPal and Venmo links. We appreciate that so much. Okay? Bandanas. Don Patoka just put up our PayPal and Venmo links. We appreciate that so much. We appreciate that a lot. Socks and underwear. Bandanas. The multi-tool clothing. The multi-tool of clothing is a bandana. They work for headbands. They work for a sunblocker. They work as a dust mask, etc. They're great. They're great. Diane Kelman just gave us a $5 super chat. She says, thank you, Ron, for all your tips. We love you. We love our EMA family. We love you too, Diane. God bless you for that. We appreciate that. I just gave you an EMA sticker on your super chat. And I also gave you a thumbs up. Thank you for that. It means a lot to us. Hold on a second, guys. My son is calling his mother on my computer, and she also has her device so she can answer his call. Anyway, I'm not done here. Not by a long shot. Bandanas. They're wonderful. How about sunglasses? Sunglasses, preferably ANSI or military standard sunglasses, rated for impact protection. Rated for impact protection. Polyplastics. Those sunglasses are rated for almost anything. They will protect your eyes even when you're shooting weapons. Even when you're shooting weapons, sunglasses can be very helpful to you. Consider having sunglasses. Gloves. Go for sturdy classic leather gloves and light, thin technical gloves. We have both here. Several years ago, I went to Home Depot. Home Depot was selling 3-pack leather gloves for $5. 3-pack of leather gloves for $3 or $5. We bought them. We have plenty of leather gloves here. As a police officer, I had sturdy work gloves that were very thin for various reasons. I could feel almost anything if I did a pat down on someone else. Or I could pick up almost the smallest things. My son Paul is here. Hi, Paul Colo. It's good to see you. Thank you for being here, Paul. I love you. Paul is my son. Carol and I love him. We have several sons. We love all of you guys. We love all of you guys. Thank you for being here, Paul. Thank you so much. Gloves. Have gloves. Have gloves. Think about what you're going to use the gloves for. Cold weather protection. Cold weather protection. While you're at it, don't forget to get a few wool blankets. Get a few wool blankets. Wool blankets will almost get you through anything. Don Patoka says, prepare for the worst and live to the best. Folks who never fought a war have little clue what war is or what they wish for. He says, yes, I kicked the tires and approved this message. Thanks, Don. God bless you for that. Again, don't forget a few wool blankets. You're going to need them. Put one in your car's trunk so you can keep yourself warm without the engine running. Now, how about something else that I have here? This is a Baofeng ham radio. A Baofeng ham radio. It requires a license to operate. If you have an emergency, you'll be able to reach out for miles. You'll be able to reach out for miles with this radio. Handheld or a base station radio, you'll be able to reach out for miles. Not just that. AM, FM walkie-talkie. FM walkie-talkie specifically. This is a family radio service walkie-talkie. A family radio service walkie-talkie. This is a 14-channel radio. For example, if you find the one channel on this radio is occupied with someone else talking on it, you can, if you plan ahead with your emergency preparedness plan, if you plan ahead that the other person that you're going to be talking to knows what channel you're going to go to. If that one first channel is busy, you can go to that second channel simply by clicking it. Okay? Walkie-talkies are awesome. That ham radio Baofeng walkie-talkie was very inexpensive, but it's a very good walkie-talkie. Okay? A flashlight. A couple flashlights at least. A headlamp. A lantern. Chem lights. Communication devices. Communication devices inside a bug-out bag. A Baofeng ham radio, walkie-talkie, flashlights, and 2 chem lights. Communications. You don't need to get your ham radio license if you have this family radio service radio here. Okay? You don't need your ham license for this, but the Baofeng radio you do. Okay? You should have a few means of sending and receiving messages. A few ways to send and receive messages. Keeping in touch with family members inside your family or group is very important, and keep in touch with the outside world as well. It's essential to receive actionable news and updates in a timely fashion. Again, and I should have brought this out before I came on the air. Over on my windowsill where I have my lantern, I have one of my charging lights here, and my AM FM weather radio that has a solar power on the top of it. I keep it there in the windowsill to stay charged. AM FM weather radios. AM FM weather radios are absolutely essential. Many of you will also have built-in lights and phone chargers. Built-in lights and phone chargers. Okay? One of the great things that we have here, and I used it even this past weekend at the Morganton Festival. This, again, I got from 4 Patriots. Okay? It's a handy-dandy cell phone backup battery. You can charge 2 cell phones from this backup battery. It also has a light right here. It has an emergency light right here that you can touch the button right here to turn it on. Consider getting one of these backup batteries. These are awesome. Okay? Get a backup battery, get your AM FM weather radio, get your ham radio, get your two-way family radio service radios, and you're ready to go. Make sure you have your phone chargers with you. A spare cell phone as well. Extra cell phone batteries if you have to have those. The cell phones that we have now cannot have extra batteries. The battery that's on these cell phones are good just for the cell phones. Then you have to get a new cell phone. Okay? Used to have cell phones that you could replace batteries with. You can't on these that I have now. Get an assortment of cell phone chargers. Get a set of cell phone chargers. Battery-powered fuel cells like I showed you here. Battery-powered fuel cells like I showed you here. These are great. Okay? 4 Patriots is wonderful. Walkie-talkies for easy close-range communication. Now, if you have one of these family radio service GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service, GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service radios, you can get pretty good range with them. Anywhere from 2 to 5 miles distance. However, if there's a lot of trees, if there's buildings in front of you, between you, you're not going to communicate as far. But these radios work. Also, CB radios work. CB radios work. I've got a CB radio here in the house. I've got a CB radio in the car. Okay? The next step that after you set with all the above CB radios. Okay? They don't require a license to operate them either. 23 or 40 channel CB radios are awesome. Okay? Now, tools. Tools. I've talked about tools a lot in the past. You just can't call yourself a preparedness guru without having a good stash of survival tools. You don't need to be a Mr. or Mrs. HGTV or the second coming of Tim Taylor or the second coming of Ron Tyler. But you should have a goodly assortment of tools that can take care of all kinds of repairs and improvised construction or digging yourselves and your neighbors out of trouble. Manual tools are the way to go. Power tools gobble up too much power. See to it that you have a good size framing hammer. A big size framing hammer. A hacksaw. An axe. A shovel. A pry bar. A utility knife. Small mechanics kit with sockets and ratchets. Sockets and ratchets. Duct tape, duct tape, duct tape. Duct tape, duct tape, and duct tape. And more duct tape. Have a good share of paracord. Parachute cord. It comes in a roll similar to like this. It's a long, maybe 7 or 8 inch roll of paracord. It will last and last. It's also very strong. You can use it for a lot of different things. Also, something else that you might consider is spray lubricant. WD-40 or something similar. Matches. Waterproof matches. Or matches that you can have stored in something very watertight to be able to use in an emergency. Now, consider a cigarette lighter. I don't smoke, but I own several cigarette lighters. I think I have my cigarette lighter I had in my desk drawer here. I think I took it downstairs to burn a piece of cord to keep it from unraveling. Cigarette lighters are great, okay? They're very inexpensive. Be careful with them. Be careful with them that they don't break and leak onto your skin or something else and cause a very bad rash. Vice grips. A pair of vice grips. Don Patoka says paracord, Para 550, called Para 550. They're great. Screwdrivers and nails and screws of various sorts, various sizes. Screwdrivers, nails and screws of various sizes. Screws of various sizes. A multi-tool for on-the-go fixing. I showed you my multi-tool right behind me just a few minutes ago. Knives. Knives. We have several kinds of knives here. This knife I'm able to put on the inside of my pocket with this clip. I can clip it to my belt loop as well. Okay? These are great. Simple knife. I also have a multi-knife here. Okay? It also has a pair of pliers with it. Okay? I got this from a friend a long time ago. Okay? Custom-made knives. You just can't call yourself a preparedness person without a good survival knife. Ideally, you're going to need a solid fixed-blade survival knife. Something small but still high-quality survival knife, such as a Morganton knife. Okay? Some people use it as a WEAPON. A WEAPON. I don't think of it as that. If a police officer asks me, it's just a survival knife. A survival knife I take camping, I take anywhere I go in case I need to have it. You don't want to call it a weapon. Do not ever call your pocket knife a weapon. Okay? A simple folding pocket knife for smaller tasks. Now, I'm going to talk about weapons. I don't like talking about it because YouTube doesn't like it. You're going to have several ways to protect yourself. Whether it's picking up a rock and tossing it, or something that you can put a rock in and toss it. Okay? Keep in mind that not all of these things will be available at the time of an attack. A firearm, a rifle, a shotgun, or a handgun. Ammunition. And I never should have said the GUNS. I typically say NUGs. NUGs. Firearms, rifles, shot NUGs, or hand NUGs. Ammunition. Around 250 rounds for any kind of firearm that you have. I have over 600 rounds of ammunition. 600 rounds of ammunition, there's a reason. Knives can be your all-purpose knife. Knives can be your all-purpose knife above. Okay? Clubs. Clubs. A trusty baseball bat. But do not carry that baseball bat out at night, especially if you're not near any ball field, because a cop will take it away from you and could charge you for having possession of a deadly weapon. A trusty baseball bat or a length of sturdy pipe works, as does a crowbar. But be safe with what you're doing. Be safe with what you're doing, because if someone comes up from behind you or someone all of a sudden appears, they can take it away and use it on you. Be very careful with what you have. How about an axe? An axe to cut wood with. An axe to cut wood with. A tool, but a brutal and effective melee weapon. A tool, but it's a brutal and effective melee weapon. Pepper spray. My wife and daughters have pepper spray. It's one of the best and only effective range and non-lethal weapons, and it's invaluable. Pepper spray. Pepper spray. Medical. Let's talk about medical for a minute. You should be prepared with medical supplies to handle everything from trauma to minor injuries and symptoms resulting from injuries. Symptoms resulting from injuries. Bandages of all kinds. Note this, you're going to need proper professional training. Proper professional training to have the skills and confidence to effectively intervene to even a minor medical emergency. And for the record, You are far more likely to need your medical skills than your weapon skills to save the day. Plan accordingly. Plan accordingly. Stock your medical bag with minor trauma kit, compression bandages, gauze pads, hemostatic sponges, more gauze, tourniquets. Remember those triangle-shaped bandages? The triangle-shaped bandages can also be used as a tourniquet. Antiseptic. Put in your medical kit. Painkillers, antibiotics and slings. Consider it, guys. A first aid kit. All kinds of bandages, band-aids, burn cream, moleskin, liquid stitch. Doctors use that all the time. A doctor friend of mine taught me how to use that. You can buy liquid stitch in almost any store now. Medical tape, white medical tape. Pain relievers, anti-nausea meds, antihistamines, alcohol pads, tweezers, and eye drops. Danny Huddleston's here in the chat says super glue for stitches. That's what I was talking about. Super glue. Super glue, guys. It's awesome. That is awesome. Okay? You don't know how many times I've used that during my career and my lifetime. Liquid stitch, super glue, medical tape, pain relievers, anti-nausea meds, antihistamines, alcohol pads, tweezers, and eye drops. Prescription meds, guys. Great stuff. Prescription eyewear and contacts. And if you're wearing contacts, you might want to have contact supplies as well. Sterile water to rinse off your contacts with. Feminine hygiene products. A backpack to put all this stuff in. A bug out bag. You can use a small backpack as a bug out bag. Put in essential items in there to save your life. If you're on your way home from work and you have an earthquake, if you're on your way home for whatever reason, you have an emergency and your car's not going to get you home, you can take your bug out bag with you, and you can have protein bars or even some kind of small food stuff in that bug out bag to help you get home. Okay? To help you get home. Your bug out bag is supposed to be stocked with all the items we listed above, or at least a representative sample of those. In order for you to grab it and just go with when things look really bad. And you cannot wait for anything else to get out of where you're at. If you cannot afford to have 2 sets of gear, you should make it a point to have a bob near your stash. Your bug out bag nearby your stash so you can load and go in a hurry. Your bug out bag should be durable. You cannot risk a blowout from your bug out bag when you're evacuating. It must be comfortable to wear. It lives on your back. So make sure that the suspension on the bag and straps work with you, not against you. Before you buy it, make sure it will work with you. The straps and suspension will work with you. It must be lightweight. Avoid heavy canvas and leather. Ounces make pound and pounds make pain when you have to carry it. You can find a comprehensive list of all these essentials to fill it with. Just ask me and I'll send you a list of everything we talked about. Your existing skill set can make or break you when a disaster strikes, so it pays to get ready now. Beyond skills, there are a few more basic things that I need to share with you. Painless preparations you can put in place now, so you're not scrambling when the sky gets dark and the mountains start rumbling. Learn basic survival skills. Do not overcomplicate things. Focus on the most important things and practice them constantly. Focus on the most important things and practice those things constantly. Focus on improving your fitness levels. Focus on improving your fitness levels. In the midst of chaos, you're going to need to be physically strong to overcome whatever challenges that may come your way. High physical fitness also helps your mental state by reducing stress levels. Mental preparedness. This is the toughest to learn. Mental preparedness is the toughest to learn. It starts with you being honest with yourself and where you are right now. Using visualization techniques to train yourself, to train your brain to react to emergencies, and controlling your thoughts. Controlling your thoughts. Thunderbird signs Diana says the body will remember if we practice over and over during good times for times of stress. Absolutely, Diana. Absolutely. Using visualization techniques to train your brain to react to emergencies and controlling your thoughts. Now, last of all, make a file with all your relevant personal documents. Make a file with all your relevant personal documents and your important information. Think identification, titles, mortgages, deeds, medical records, social security cards, and stashing it all on a flash drive if possible. Then encrypting it. Keep it with your bug-out bag or your survival stash. You're going to have access to it when you need it. Make sure it does not fall into the wrong hands. Of course, what we've talked about tonight is only the beginning. Everyone has their own needs and concerns. Some people have to work around disabilities or elderly family or children. Some people have very small children. Some people are alone or have greatly limited budgets. The best way that I have found to start getting survival items and making preparations is to just start. There's always something you can do, even if it is practicing a skill, reviewing a map of your best escape routes, or adding one lousy can of peaches to your stash. Should you cheap out on any of those things? I wouldn't. I would not cheap out on anything. Those things might save your life one day. Those things might save your life one day, and you cannot afford for them not to work when you need them most. That being said, many good quality items can be had for modest prices today. With so many online reviews, blogs, and videos on the web, you can easily get a sense of the ones that give you the most bang for your buck. And if you're patient enough to wait for discounts, you're likely to get some pretty sweet deals. So you're ready to get started putting together your survival packing list. My father was military. My grandfather was a railroad blacksmith, and my father went around railroads and talked to blacksmiths and learned to blacksmith himself. Both my grandfather and my father served the country well, and his brothers did as well. I don't like taking orders. I'm taking matters into my own hands. So I'm not just preparing. I'm going to frickin' war. I'm going to a frickin' war to provide for all of us. The best of the survival and preparedness content is out there. And I've given you a good way to learn tonight. I've given you a good way to learn tonight. I've given you a lot of information. If your wife begins to ask a question or begins to question why your garage or your spare bedroom is looking like a mini Bass Pro Shop, your only defense is this. I don't know what type of emergency nor how long it's going to last. But I doubt I can get what we need when the time comes. The best way to start to prepare is right now. The best way to start is going to prepper websites and Pinterest. Always ask yourself the question, or questions, plural. Who, what, where, when, and why. And I would even ask the question, how. With very few exceptions, you will find everything you need to do or need to learn or need to acquire will take on a layered format. 2 examples. Fire and water. First, fire. Although one of these might be sufficient, you should have a few more options. Storm-proof matches. Barbecue lighters. My wife and I have several barbecue lighters in our survival kit, and we have several more downstairs. A magnesium fire starter. I have 2 magnesium fire starters. Go online and look at that. You also need to have something to catch on fire. For example, white cotton makeup removing pads. White cotton makeup removing pads. Or, have you thought of dryer lint? Dryer lint. My wife and I have put together dryer lint in plastic baggies in our survival kits. Tim Gibson says, thank you, Ron. Thank you, Tim. We appreciate that. Robert Holmes is here in the chat saying, Ron, the Seabees Naval Base at Gulfport, Mississippi may be able to help some of the folks that can't evacuate and need a safe place to go. I'm very well aware of that, and I contacted them earlier today. Thank you for that. The Seabees Naval Base in Gulfport, Mississippi is very good. They're very good. My dad was a Seabee himself. Now, makeup removing pads impregnated with Vaseline. That makes an even better fire starter. I also carry a handful of scrap cedar, tinder, and bags. I pick up scraps of paper as you venture on. Pick up scraps of paper as you venture on. Some of that paper may be very dry, dried out from the sun, ready to catch on fire. Juby Joe says, place the linen paper rolls, TP. Oh yeah, they're great. Second, we're talking about water again. The live straw. My wife and I have several live straws here. Live straws are essential. 1 per person. 1, why? What if you get separated and there's only 1 straw? Somebody's going to have to go without water. As good as the straw is, you'll also need a way to collect and purify water and carry water. Why? Unless you plan on hiking along streams and rivers, you may have to go some distance between water sources. My emergency preparedness gear also includes the essentials. A solar-powered mini fridge. A solar-powered mini fridge. I bought it from a garage sale. I bought it from a garage sale on a dime. Hardly spent any money at all for that. A church key. Some of you know what I mean when I talk about a church key. Having a church key, no, it doesn't open doors necessarily, but It might save your life. A church key. Google it. DuckDuckGo it. Find out what a church key is. How about chips? Chips. Salsa. How about a soda can? Or a soda bottle? A folding lawn chair. A folding lawn chair, guys, with a mini table with a cup holder. We have folding lawn chairs here. They don't have many tables, but they have a cup holder. But we also have tables here with us. Most important of all, TP, toilet paper. Toilet paper. We buy toilet paper in large amounts. We buy toilet paper in large amounts either from Costco, which is 75 miles away, or from that other place related to Walmart. That other store related to Walmart. They also have large quantities of TP. And you can get them now at those stores for $18 for a huge, I think, 48 roll of toilet paper. Okay? Now, something else. And I suggest hornet spray rather than pepper spray. Hornet spray. As a defense is only as good as a good offense. A defense is only as good as a good offense. It's dual purpose. Also, it's easier to defend yourself in court than some homemade solutions you can get suggested that are online. Okay? Hornet spray. But don't just continue spraying it on the person's face. Do not just pour it onto a person's face. If that person develops pneumonia from being sprayed by hornet spray, bear spray, pepper spray, you're going to go to jail. Don't do it. One quick spray, maybe two, and that's all. One quick spray like that, and that's it. No more. No more. Now, a gator. A gator. I'm talking about a motorized vehicle that usually sits forward comfortably. A gator. You can get a gator for about $2,000. I don't have $2,000, but I do have a four-wheel drive vehicle. Portable solar panels. Portable solar panels and inverters with ham radio and other gear. I have a solar-powered battery here. I have a solar-powered generator. And I have backup solar panels here. And an inverter for ham radio and gas mask and radiation detectors. This is just some of the things we have here in our stash here at the Tyler household. Now, I want to offer you a couple of suggestions along the way. How about a hobo tool? A hobo tool for eating instead of disposable utensils. A hobo tool, you can get those online. Less garage tools have a Leatherman. Have a Leatherman. A Leatherman super tool. How about a collapsible bow saw? A collapsible bow saw. We have two of those here. A combination hammer hatchet. A combination hammer hatchet. We have two of those. Lots of paracord. I have several thousand feet of paracord. Para 550. Camping plates and bowls. Camping plates and bowls. Carol and I have our own camp kits. Plates and bowls. We have stainless steel compartment trays and bowls. Titanium is lighter and stronger, but twice the price. Think about it. Think about it. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know I've talked a lot about supplies. tomorrow evening before that hurricane hits, I'm going to talk specifically about hurricane survival, hurricane preparedness. Those of you that want to know more, those of you that have families in the areas where this hurricane is going to hit, make sure you have those people here. Invite them here sometime just after 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. I will be happy to talk to all of you about hurricane preparedness in particular. I will go over everything we've gone over tonight except the survival items. Except these survival items I just shared with you. Tomorrow night I'm going to specifically talk about hurricane preparedness. What you need to do to be surviving what is going to happen. I want you to know exactly what's going to happen. Again, I'm going to point out here a couple things. Okay? This is high tide and surge. Upwards of 5 to 10 feet deep. Surge, water surge from the Gulf of Mexico. Major cities that the hurricane is going to hit: Brownsville, Texas, Houston, Galveston, New Orleans, Louisiana, and over into Mississippi. Next, the storm track. This is the storm track. Don't forget the outer bands of the storm. Do not forget the outer bands of the storm, because the outer bands of the storm are already hitting the coastlines of the Gulf of Mexico. They're already hitting the coastlines of the Gulf of Mexico. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Do you have any questions about anything we talked about? Do you have any questions about anything that we talked about? This is the end of our program except for our devotional here. Please, everyone, stick around for our devotional here. No matter what kind of darkness we find ourselves in, or how we came to be there, there is hope. Because when we sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto us. When we sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto us. All we have to do is ask. All we have to do is ask. I've talked a great deal about prayer. I have talked a great deal about prayer. Prayer will solve a lot of issues. If my son is still here, our daughter had some issues with her car earlier today. She started to freak out a bit because she was worried that her car would no longer run. And she's been living inside her car. She's been living inside her car for some time. So she was very concerned that she might not have a car to live in, a car to take her to and from work, which would end her work as we know it, as she knows it. So I got down on my knees right then and there, as soon as she told her mother and I what the situation was. I got down on my knees and asked our Heavenly Father to bless our daughter, that she would have the things that she needs, that she would be able to have her car, that she would still be able to survive what is going on, and she'll be able to survive what is going to happen in the months to come. As soon as I got up from my knees, guess what? Our daughter messaged us back. She called one of her friends. One of her friends called his friend. And guess what? Her car got fixed before she even got off work tonight. Her car got fixed before she even got off work tonight. and it did not cost her an arm and a leg as she thought it might. Heavenly Father will bless us. All we have to do is ask. All we have to do is ask. Prayer is a wonderful thing. Never forget, nothing is more powerful than a prayer. Nothing is stronger than faith. And nothing is greater than God. Nothing is more powerful than prayer. Nothing is stronger than faith. And nothing is greater than God. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I think the world of all of you. You are my EMA family. I love each and every one of you. I truly do. I would not keep doing what we've been doing here tonight more than a very short time if I didn't love all of you. I love your families, your friends, and all of your loved ones. I care. I work every day to make sure that we have information for you, to save your lives. To save your lives. I care. My sweet wife cares. We pray for each one of you. We pray for all of you, that you might have the things necessary to go through your life, to be happy, to have the things that you need. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we meet again. We will be back here on the air tomorrow evening sometime after 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So please join us for Hurricane Preparedness tomorrow evening. And we'll talk in great length about hurricane preparedness. God be with you until we meet again. We love you, folks. We love you greatly. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love.